You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Feel like who art Ed?
We'll try to spice it.
Who art is Mr. Wood art Ed me?
Yeah. Either way, it's ambiguous. It works on so many levels.
I know.
That's off to a great start.
Welcome to Who Arted, where we explore visual arts in an audio medium. I'm your host, Kyle Wood. Now, since it is June, which is Pride Month, I thought it might be nice to make a little episode covering a bit about the pride flag, as well as some fun facts about rainbows and different individual colors. Now, for anyone wondering how the rainbow flag, the pride flag, came to be, the artist Gilbert Baker designed it in 1978 at the urging of Harvey Milk in San Francisco. He wanted a symbol that represented the diversity and unity of the LGBTQ plus community. Each color of the flag holds a specific meaning: red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, blue for peace, and purple or violet for spirit. Baker's original flag had 8 colors, but it was later reduced to 6 due to just production limitations. The rainbow flag quickly gained popularity, and it became a global symbol of LGBTQ plus pride, representing the fight for equality and acceptance. People continue to build off that work with variations like the progress flag, which is becoming increasingly popular today. But since this is an art podcast, I'm mostly going to focus on rainbows and color. I think the first thing everyone should know is how a rainbow is formed. All color that we see is just different wavelengths of light. If we mix all those different waves of light together, we get white light. Now, rainbows are basically taking that white light with all the colors in it and breaking it out into those component parts. Rainbows are formed when white light shines through water droplets in the air. The light is refracted or bent and dispersed into different colors, creating that familiar arc. Red light has the longest wavelength. It takes the long way around the outside edge of the rainbow. On the other end of the spectrum, purple has the shortest wavelength. It's the highest energy and takes the inside track. Now, something interesting, no two people see the same rainbow. The rainbow that you see is unique to your perspective based on the position relative to the sun and water droplets creating that rainbow. Also, despite, popular legends about gold at the end of the rainbow, you cannot reach the end of the rainbow. As you move, the rainbow appears to move as well, so you can never actually get to the end of it. And also, there is really no end to the rainbow. Rainbows are full circles. We typically see a rainbow as an arc because we're on the ground, but from a higher vantage point, like an airplane, you can see a rainbow as a full circle. Now, Sir Isaac Newton has contributed a lot to science, and one of his major contributions came through his experiments with prisms and optics that revealed white light is composed of a continuous spectrum of colors, which he initially divided into 5 main categories: red, yellow, green, blue, and violet. However, Newton also had a strong interest in music, and he believed there was a connection between color and music harmony. He noticed that the intervals between notes in the musical scale were similar to the spacing of colors in the spectrum, and to strengthen that connection, he added 2 more colors, orange and indigo, to create the 7-color spectrum that aligned to the 7 notes in the musical scale. His work laid the foundation for our understanding of light and color. Cultures throughout time have actually debated how many colors are in the rainbow. I recognize the visible spectrum is actually continuous, with an infinite number of colors blending seamlessly one into another. But for the purposes of this episode, I'm going to focus on 6 colors for the rainbow, as that's what I find most practical for organizational purposes, given that our standard color wheel focuses on 6 colors, 3 primary and 3 secondary colors. So let's start with red. Red is one of the traditional primary colors. Red was among the first colors used in prehistoric cave paintings. Ancient artists used red ochre, a natural pigment made from clay, to create some of the earliest known artworks found in caves around the world. Red is considered a warm color. In fact, red is considered to be the warmest color. The studies also show that red can create feelings of warmth as well as urgency, and it's often used in marketing for that reason. Red's also a color of revolution. It's often used in flags and symbols of revolutionary movements to represent courage, sacrifice, and change. Many modern artists use red to make bold statements, challenge traditional aesthetics, and explore themes in identity, politics, and social issues. And when I think of red challenging traditional aesthetics, I think one of the greatest examples of that would be Henri Matisse's The Dessert, Harmony in Red, sometimes also simply referred to as the Red Room. If you want to learn more about that piece, I'll link it in the show notes. Now on to orange. Orange is considered a secondary color. It's also considered a warm color. Orange is the national color of the Netherlands. There are some sources indicating that orange carrots were purposely cultivated in honor of William of Orange, although the truth is probably a bit more complicated than that. Purple, yellow, and white carrots were around before the orange variety. Around the 16th and 17th centuries, yellow carrots moved west through the Ottoman Empire and mutated into orange carrots we know today. They became popular as they were sweeter and didn't stain utensils the way other varieties were known to do. Connecting it with Dutch royalty certainly helped bolster the orange carrot, but it wasn't the sole reason for the orange carrot's dominance. Now, another interesting sort of food connection with orange. The color orange is actually named after the fruit of the same name. Before the fruit came to Europe, they typically referred to the color as yellow-red or saffron. Saffron robes are worn by Buddhist monks to symbolize their renunciation of worldly possessions and desires. The color signifies their commitment to a simple and ascetic lifestyle focused on spiritual pursuits. More broadly, orange is associated with creativity and enthusiasm. It's also used as a safety color to make things more visible. One last and maybe not so fun fact about orange is that orange pigments have a toxic history. Some early orange pigments, like realgar and orpiment, were made from toxic minerals containing arsenic. Despite the risks, artists used them because of their vibrant hues. On to yellow. Yellow is one of the traditional primary colors. Yellow is the most visible color in daylight. This is why school buses, taxis, and warning signs are often yellow today. Although in ancient China, yellow was the color of royalty. Only the emperor was allowed to wear yellow during the Tang dynasty. Broadly speaking, yellow is associated with happiness and optimism. It's often used in advertising and branding to evoke positive feelings. And one last fun and probably pretty surprising fact about yellow. The sun isn't actually yellow. It's white, but it appears yellow to us because of the way the Earth's atmosphere scatters sunlight. Now on to green. Green is one of the traditional secondary colors, although in an additive model, like if we're using colored light the way a computer screen does, green would be considered one of the primary colors. Red, green, and blue are the additive primaries when you're mixing colored light. Green is apparently the easiest color for the human eye to see. A person with typical color vision can distinguish more shades of green than any other color. Today, green is the color of nature. It's associated with growth, renewal, and harmony. Green was a sacred color in ancient Egypt. It symbolized rebirth and regeneration. And the first artificial green dye was actually poisonous. I think one of my very first fun fact mini episodes about Scheele's green and killer wallpaper. Scheele's green was developed in the 18th century, and it contained arsenic. It was used in everything from wallpaper to clothing, and unfortunately, there were some incidents where, I guess damp conditions could cause some of that arsenic and some vapors to leach out into the air. If you want to learn more, I'll link that one in the show notes too. Now, green has also been used in the printing of money in the United States, and that came about in the 19th century. That was largely because in the mid-19th century, when the U.S. government started printing money, green ink was just readily available and inexpensive. It was also durable and didn't fade easily, making it just a practical choice for a currency that would be handled frequently. It also had some benefits with regard to counterfeiting, or I guess anti-counterfeiting. In the early days of photography, cameras could only capture black and white images. Green ink made it difficult to create counterfeit copies, as it wouldn't show up well in photographs. And next up, my personal favorite color, blue. Blue is actually the world's most popular color. In surveys across different cultures, blue consistently ranks as the most favored color. Probably because blue is considered to have a calming effect. It's actually been shown to lower blood pressure and heart rate, making it a popular choice for bedrooms and hospitals. Blue is also among the rarest colors in nature. I know you're thinking the earth is covered in blue. I mean, the blue water and blue sky. But actually, the sky isn't blue. The sky appears blue because of the way the Earth's atmosphere scatters sunlight. The short wavelength blue light is scattered more than other colors, making the sky appear blue. Most blue-colored things in nature, though, like blue butterflies and flowers, get their color from tricks of light rather than pigments. A blue jay isn't actually even blue. Its feathers are brown, but they appear blue due to the way that light scatters off their structure. Now, because it's so rare, blue pigments have historically been more valuable than gold. Ultramarine, the pigment derived from lapis lazuli stones, it was a semi-precious stone mined primarily in these remote mountainous regions in Afghanistan. The process of extracting the blue pigment was labor-intensive and costly, making ultramarine extremely expensive. Now, because that ultramarine was so expensive, but also beautiful with this vibrant, intense hue, it was often used in the most important figures in a work, like the Virgin Mary in Renaissance paintings, or sometimes it would be used in important figures, like the person who paid for the painting. In the 19th century, actually, the French government offered a prize of 6,000 francs for anyone who could create a synthetic blue pigment. And in 1826, Jean-Baptiste Guémet, a French chemist, successfully synthesized ultramarine using a combination of kaolin, some type of clay, sodium carbonate, sulfur, and charcoal. Now, last but not least, purple. Now, purple is a secondary color. Traditionally, we would say you get purple by mixing red and blue, although if you've ever mixed red and blue and found it doesn't work all that well, you'll get better results if you use a magenta or a pink and blue. Purple is relatively rare in nature. It's also one of the hardest colors for the eye to distinguish. That's because it is, as I said, a combination of colors, and our eye apparently has difficulty processing it. Now, purple has long been considered a color of royalty. It's associated with wealth and royalty because it was extremely expensive. One of the earliest purple dyes was actually made from snails. Tyrian purple was extracted from thousands of sea snails in a very labor-intensive process. But In 1856, a young chemist named William Perkin accidentally created a synthetic purple dye. He was trying to create a cure for malaria when he accidentally stumbled on a vibrant purple dye called mauvine. This discovery made purple more accessible to the masses and no doubt had a major impact on the fashion industry in the 19th century. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this little rainbow fun fact extravaganza. And I feel like I don't say it enough, but thank you for listening. I really appreciate all of you who take some time to share a bit of your day with me. I hope you find something here that's worth your while.
This concludes this week's episode of Who Arted, part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. If you found this tolerable, please leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. You can find images of the work being discussed this week and every week on social media at Who Arted Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and of course on the website whoartedpodcast.com. Podcast done.